Yeah, welcome everybody, the ones who just joined and the ones who are here for the whole meeting. We now have the last speaker. It's Ulf Magnusson from the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. He's representing the Antimicrobial Partnership Network. And Ulf, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Lavinia. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, or whatever is relevant. It's good to see some names and faces that are recognized in the participant list here. Well, I will give a presentation here from the Livestock Antimicrobial Partnership. It will be a little bit, it's of course about curbing the antimicrobial resistant emergence in the livestock sector, but there are some, I didn't want to say alternative narratives or alternative approaches, but a little bit maybe slightly different from the ordinary business or ordinary discourse. First, I will just, so we are on the same page a little bit about the basics of antimicrobial resistance. And to make it simple, the more antimicrobials we use, the more resistant bugs do we get. And one complicating factor is that animals and humans may be infected by the same bugs. These are these zoonotic infections that are spread between animals and humans and vice versa. Then also that some antibiotics are used both in human and veterinary medicine. And this makes the emergence of AMR not only a threat to animal health, welfare and productivity, but also to public health. And the complicating factor, or embarrassing is perhaps a too strong word, but the livestock sector use more antimicrobials than the health sector globally. It's not true in all countries, but depending on livestock populations, etc., etc. But globally, it's far more in the livestock sector than in the health sector. So if you look at just a little bit initially here about the public health risks, this extensive use of antibiotics and antimicrobials in the livestock sector is due to regular preventive use and use as growth promoters. That is, growth promoters is antibiotics that you put in the feed in small concentration on a regular basis. Then pigs and chickens, calves grow faster. And of course, these applications are not present in the health sector. So that is the main explanation why there is more use of antibiotics in the livestock sector. And however, against this growth promoting practice or application, actions has been taken. It was banned in Sweden in 1985, in the European Union in 2005, in the US in 2017, and currently it's reported not to be in use in 118 countries that do report to the OIE. OIE have, by the way, an excellent reporting system on the global scale. It's not for individual countries because of confidentiality, but it's by regions. So this is how it looks. Or a sketch here, it's exemplified by poultry and pigs given antibiotics, and the genes or the very bacteria could be spread via food, via the farmer, or actually via the environment to the public, to the common people. On the very right side there you see. And however, we have to remember that it's, and there are, this is described, but we have insufficient data about the magnitude and importance of this transmission. How important is this? Wilfred, you are unmuted. Okay. Thank you. So about the data availability, I said that there were weak data in some circumstances. About the use worldwide, there are estimates, and hard data are hard to get. There are some attempts. Here is from my colleague Thomas van Buckel and colleagues' paper in Science, and this is in absolute numbers of kilograms or tons of antimicrobials, the red dot, and the dark red dot, this circumference, if I put it like that, is the estimate for 2030. And you can see that large livestock countries like the US, Brazil, and China are big users of antibiotics. And here is from this report I mentioned from the OIE. And one of the elements in that reporting was the analysis of barriers to reporting quantitative data on antimicrobial agents intended for use in animals. And you can see there it's a lack of regulatory framework, lack of coordination, lack of IT tools, etc., etc. So there are hard to get hold on good data for this. This is from the European Union about sales of different or all kinds of antimicrobials for food producing animals. It's balanced by the biomass, we could say PCU, and you see a large variation between countries. And then if we move on to resistance data, and that is even worse if I put it like that. It's very scattered research data, and there are just some selected or some systematically collected data. And this is also from another Thomas van Buckel and allies paper, 2019. These are publications on the AMR, and they have focused in this paper on low and middle income countries. And you can see that it's most from Asia and less from South America. And so, but that is just to show the uneven distribution of scientific data. And here they have made I recommend you to read this paper if you want to dig into it, but it's about where you find the most resistant bacteria. And it's a lot of methodologies here, different methodologies, different bugs that have been looked into, different selection of antibiotics and so, but they have made an attempt to harmonize this. And the more reddish areas are like here in parts of India or Iran or China. There are the hotspots for resistant bacteria. But this is very scattered data, as I said, so you have to interpret with caution. But I'm just showing the best attempts that I have come across. And then, of course, also the European Union have a systematic surveillance system on zoonotic bacteria. And this is just an example of resistance to cefotaxime, taxim, and ciprofloxacin in indicator E. coli in pigs from slaughterhouses. E. coli is not per se a zoonosis, But these two antibiotics that are tested for are those that are very precious for human medicine. So we really don't want to have them or resistance to these ones in the pig population. But they have more data like this. This came out some months ago. Just to exemplify what is available. So there has been a focus on reducing the need for antibiotics. And this is a series of publications made by the FAO in cooperation first with Denmark on pigs, and then with Sweden on dairy cattle, describing the history, the success stories, and so. And I had the privilege to be involved in the Swedish one. And when we digged into the history, we sort of realized that the main objective was not to reduce the use of antibiotic and resistance. It was mainly to keep the cows healthy and productive. And as a side effect, that reduced the need for antibiotics. And I think our Danish colleagues came into similar conclusions regarding the pigs. And then also we made this booklet about prudent and efficient use of antimicrobials in pigs and poultry. We were a team of some 15 international experts. And following this, we made a smaller, more farmer-oriented, call it manuals, how to use antibiotics in an efficient and responsible way. This is sort of describing how to reduce the need for antibiotics and when you use it in a proper way. And of course, also the sector itself, the producers, and these are from the international umbrella organization, the IPC and IDF, as examples. They have also guidance or manuals on how to reduce the need for antibiotics and how to use antibiotics when needed. And there are, of course, a lot of national guidelines on this as well. I just exemplified here by these two ones, since they are on a global level, so to say. So based on these experiences here on reducing the need, we came up with this kind of, call it complementary narrative, and that is about promoting medical rational use. So it's not about banning or so and bashing on farmers. It's more like promoting a medical rational use. So a key element here is disease preventions by good herd health management, and don't replace poor management with antibiotics. So this disease prevention pyramid, as we call it, it starts with good animal husbandry, feed, food, environment, etc., biosecurity to stop infections coming into the farm, and then protecting the animals from specific infections by vaccination. And also then use antibiotics only for therapeutic uses, therapeutic purposes, and not for regular prophylaxis or growth promotion. And don't use antibiotics that are critically important antimicrobials for human medicine because of the risk to ruin this. I think that is a matter of decency for us within the sector. And use antibiotics only after a diagnosis of disease by a veterinarian. So you have a professional assessment of that. And this is also a problem in several emerging economies and low-income countries, perhaps, and use only quality-assured pharmaceuticals. And strive for individual treatment of the animals with assigned dose and duration. So this is what we mean with medical rational use. So what kind of implications, if I put it like that, that this has on smallholder farmings in low-income countries. There is a need there for public investment to improve the access to veterinary services. This is a major obstacle in many low and middle, especially low-income countries. And also this issue about quality assurance of antibiotics, that is a public responsibility. And our judgment is that this will result in more efficient and likely less use of antibiotics and healthier animals. When you come across to farmers in remote areas and see how antibiotics is used, it's totally meaningless, if I could say so without being blunt. It just drives antibiotic resistance. It doesn't help the animals or the farmers. And then in more intensified farming systems in middle and high income countries, I think it's more about private initiatives, better herd health management, better routines, management in general, and possible also improved facilities. This will result in less use of antibiotics, but with maintained animal productivity. That has been shown in countries like Sweden and Denmark and Norway and Finland, that it's possible to maintain animal productivity by these means. So that was the complementary narrative number one, if I put it like that. Then we move to the second one. It's just two of them. And we focus very much on the producers. But if you apply this follow the money principle, and those who are old enough to remember the Watergate scandal with President Nixon, you know that the journalist Woodward and Bernstein, they followed the money. And that is a good way to analyze issues, I think. And here is a graph from one of our publications. On the top, you see the green cross, that is the pharmacy or the agrochemical shop that are providing medicines. And the man in dark, man in black there is the veterinarian. He happened to be a man in this case. On the A panel there, that is what we most see in low-income countries, that the farmers have poor contact with or accessibility to a veterinarian and don't find it worthwhile to go to a veterinarian. They buy the pharmaceuticals directly from the pharmacy or the agrochemical shop and get advices from there. And in the middle, the B panel, which is more common in middle and high income countries, the farmer can go either to the agrochemical shop or the pharmacy. After that, the veterinarian, that is the small gray arrow, have put forward a prescription to the farmer. But in several of these countries, also the veterinarians are selling antibiotics directly to the farmer, which is I think it's a perverted incentives. And then in some high-income countries, all the selling of the antibiotics is going through the pharmacy, and the veterinary is just doing prescription and advices to the farmers. So, so follow the money thing then. Agrochemical shops and pharmacy earn money from selling antibiotics. So that is about their standard if they want to. It's about the competence, or they also will want to sell antibiotics, of course. In some settings, these employees in the agrochemical shops give trainings for the retailers or receive trainings from pharmaceutical companies and wholesalers. We haven't had the chance to dig into the quality into this or see what is said there, but that would be interesting if I put it like that. And in some settings, veterinarians get a substantial share of their revenues from the selling antibiotics. In continental Europe, that is quite common in some countries, in some regions of countries as well. So do the veterinarians have the appropriate skill sets or attitudes to work on disease prevention rather than selling antibiotics? I think that is a highly relevant question. So also in this other players, but the producers, I was dealing with the economical side of it, but now it's also about policies and regulations. Antibiotics should only be sold by prescription. That is not the case in the world, I think. However, it's very important then to provide animal health services to producers so they may get the needed advices and prescriptions. These have to be matched, this demand for prescription and the veterinary services, I think. And I think it's reasonable to restrict veterinarians from earning money from selling antibiotics. That is, I'm a veterinarian myself, so I dare to say this. Because I think our profession can do better than this. And this is a kind of perverted incentive to sell more antibiotics. So these regulations, but always like when we talk about regulations and policies and so, is there a compliance that varies around the world? So I will end up with 3 conclusions. Medical rational use of antimicrobials in the livestock sector has an essential role in the sustainable food systems. We have to treat sick animals. This business of antibiotic-free animals is absolutely nonsense. I think it's highly unethical not to treat sick animals. Policymakers, pharmaceutical companies, wholesalers and retailers of antimicrobials, veterinarians, extension service, and livestock producers. We are all responsible for applying this more medical rational use of antibiotics. It's not only the producers. And the LAMP and GASL, we contribute to this agenda in various ways. Currently we are compiling some for a small booklet, and I will come back to that at another occasion. So thank you very much. I think there are 7 minutes for questions or so. Over to you, Lavinia.
Thank you, Ulf. That was interesting, as well as the other presentations. So we do have a question from Jacob Wanyama. Sorry if I'm not saying this right. So he's asking, what is the role of ethno-veterinary in reducing the overuse of antibiotics?
About
ethno-veterinary.
Yeah, okay. No, I think there is an, how to put it, it's an odd division between what is called ethno-medicine and, if you call it, commercial medicines. I think they should be tested and evaluated by the same standards. And if this, what is called ethno-veterinary medicines, if they work, that is fine. But if you don't validate them correctly, and use them and sell them to farmers, I think that is a fraud. But I mean, now most antibiotics is further developed, but we have to remember that penicillin is a bloody fungus. It's a natural occurring organism. So I think ethno stuff, if I put it like that, is perfectly okay, but it has to be validated and assessed in the same way as commercial medicines. Otherwise, it's highly unethical, both for animals and for farmers. You're muted.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm sorry, just a second. Okay, sorry, they were calling me. Yeah, so that, is there any other question for Ulf? I don't have a question if no other question come up. What is, because I've been researching this for my master's, what will be the role of high income countries to help or shift those low and middle income countries where practices are not that efficient, yeah, to get better? I don't know if it, because a lot of people are saying that, yeah, for instance, especially with this European Union, you have this Brussels effect, which is trying to pressure low and middle income countries to force on a use of antimicrobials, which is reduced. Otherwise, they will not accept products into the European Union. How is your view on that? Would that be a solution?
Oh, I mean, I spend a lot of time in capacity development together with colleagues, especially in Asia and Africa, and with veterinary colleagues, and also farmers, what is acceptable. And I think it's somewhat ignorance, but it's also, I think it's a matter of using antibiotics in a professional way, in a responsible way. I think this that has been quite prevalent is banning, especially from people outside the livestock sector, and in high-income countries, is that it will not work, and it's a little bit immoral, I think. But to change this narrative, to use it more efficiently and more prudent, responsibly, but of course, to be, I think good veterinary service is a key, because it's in many low-income countries, the only contact farmers do have with animal health professionals in some way is when they go to the agrochemical shop and buy something for their sick pigs and so and so, and those advices are rarely appropriate. No, I generalize very much, but
yeah, it's a difficult question. So I guess we have one last question, I guess, from sorry, yeah, he brought your name. You brought your name, but I don't remember. So it's saying how to reduce drug withdrawal times. Yeah, how to reduce drugs withdrawal times.
How to reduce?
Yeah.
No, I don't know whether. It depends. The only way is to accept more residues. I mean, that is a chemical, physiological thing. I think if you look into the dairy sector, for instance, I think the withdrawal times for milk is indeed a tool to motivate farmers to keep their animals healthy from mastitis. Because then if you have to treat them with antibiotics, then you had a withdrawal time on the milk for some 5 days, and then you lose money. But to reduce the withdrawal time, I really not sure I follow that.
I guess he's suggesting, related to the question, new technologies or new method of treatment.
Yeah, maybe that is possible in some way, but it's about the metabolism of the
animal.
Yeah.
And the drug. Okay, I think there are no other questions, unless I see something. No. Yeah, so I think we can end it here.